Okay, it's that time again. So I'm just gonna try and quickly blast through all the new stuff that I can show off easily enough. Straight up, straight off the bat, then you'll notice I've disabled the timer altogether now. A few other little tweaks here to make things go a bit smoother in debugging. So you're starting with full meter. I've quadrupled meter again for the sake of the demo as well, just so if I need to show off multiple supers and such, I can. So the last thing I showed would have been the really basic half-done version of Ryu Super. So there it is now, working nicely with all the effects and the multiple hits and everything as they should be. There's one thing I want to still modify about the multi-hit projectiles. Now that's went through a bunch of phases there. I had to fix a lot of various little things like sort of odd pushback and making sure that the projectile doesn't hover in midair too much as it freezes, to prevent passing through the character if they're too near the corner and things like that. But those issues have all been worked out now. So I'll show another one getting blocked in the corner. I should have multiplied meter gain by 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. But so if I do this in the corner, so it doesn't pass through him or anything silly like that. So like some of the other various little teething problems like that. So we've got those there all sorted out. But one thing I do want to do is, well, basically it's a bad way to start phrasing it, but basically at the moment the projectiles with the multi hits they're still treated as one hit from the purposes of how my system usually works out attacks. So for things like multiple hit attacks, like Ryu's close hard kick with the axe kick, that's defined as 2 hits. I mean, each hit can have multiple hitboxes that make up the shape of the collision, but it's treated as this is an impact here. This is a break point in the animation which has to sync up with a certain part, and it's got recoil and damage and yada yada all associated with this part. But the projectile doesn't kind of fit into that pattern because it's a one thing. There's one breakpoint in the animation. He releases it and it's done, and all the hits are identical. So whenever that's hitting, it's essentially just kind of looping the first hit. So rather than it hitting and just ceasing to exist and then waiting for another to happen, the multi hit sort of it disables the hurt box, so it goes inactive during the hit stop and then becomes active again until its durability is been used up, and then it destroys itself, which works out fine if you're going to let everything be completely identical. But I want to be able to do the different recoil types on each hit. So what I want to do with that is to make the first however many hits, 4 in this case, of the projectile leave the opponent grounded on a hit, and then only have the last lift them off the ground. It just looks nicer, but I'll have to have a wee play around to get that going. Let's see, I'll show off some more stuff here. So and now Ken has his super as well, so it's much nicer. So just that. I think I've spaced the hits too far apart for it to all combo correctly at the moment. I think I could probably have gotten Ryu to block halfway through that. So there's still some data to tweak there, but it's there. It works. The animation plays out nicely and nothing crazy happens. There's super cancelling now as well, and it's a little bit awkward to pull off with the projectiles and some of the moves I've got here. The uppercut's a bit hard to pull off execution wise doing this on the pad, and the fireball is slightly odd timing, but I'll see if I can get it here. There we go. There we go. Nice first try. So there you go. So that's the thing now. So you can now of course do the full chain through of cancels now. So you can do a normal cancel into a special, cancel into a super, like you can normally do. I'll see what else. I did some slight tweaks to the cancelling as well. Beforehand, whenever you were in hit stop, the inputs wouldn't have registered, so it made the cancels feel really awkward and difficult to do for no good reason. So I fixed that. So there's some hit sparks as well in terms of what kind of moves you're getting hit by. Though I think the subsequent moves of Ken's multi-hit moves, I think I might need to tweak some of those to assign because the general way I was going to do it was just the orange hit sparks for normals, and then the two different like blue and purple hit sparks for specials and supers connecting, which is pretty much how it was done in CVS2. So I just follow that pattern. It looks nice enough. But so there you go. So both guys have their functional supers with the multiple hits going in. There's another little thing as well now. Of the there's a toggle in for throw invincibility now as well, which is a very quick and easy change from the code perspective, but it's an important thing. So the moment you'll notice there's like a little thick border on the hurt box as it gets hit there. Now it's not a very nice way of displaying it, and I'm trying to think of what a better way would be. You can see it a bit more clearly as well. Jump. And you see that light blue hitbox there? I'm going to get to that in a minute. But basically what this does is do it properly. Nah, I'm messing up now. I'm just going to end this. Basically the idea is if I can do this properly, I've maybe reduced it too much to actually. There we go, to show it easily. So just you've got a couple of, I think 2 frames I've set it at the minute. A couple of frames of throw invincibility that's just universal as you come out of a hit state or being reset or waking up or whatever, just to prevent like super easy like meaty tech throws and things like that. So you can still tech throw normally, but you can't like grab someone super meaty before they can do anything and things like that. And again, that's basically the same as it is in most sort of modern fighters. I think Street Fighter 5 has 2 frames of throw invincibility. I know KOF has a lot more, but it relies on a completely different system, so it's not really comparable. But yeah, that's another little thing that's in there. There's a few fixes. Obviously, I can't really show them here, but basically, if I were to do this before the fix, something like this, and press a button just as I land, it would have came out backwards. So whenever I added the landing state, it created so I'd fixed this a long time ago, but when I added the landing state, which has the the couple of frames there where the trip guard and such is handled, it created a little out there where it would allow you to process inputs for a frame before the logic for switching the character's facing was executed. So yeah, I just fixed that and stopped it from processing inputs during that landing frame, and it's dead on now, so that's fixed. There's a few other little things as well, like if you back both characters off, you'll notice compared to older videos, more of them stays on screen. So just a simple fix there to update the camera to clamp the character on screen using the edges of the presence box rather than their position, which let most of their body get off screen. And similarly as well, you can see it just from jumping, but the camera now as well, I've stopped it from clamping the character to the top of the camera, which didn't need to be done. There are bounds to the actual stage itself outside of the camera to stop characters from getting juggled really high and flying out of the stage into the void or anything like that. But beforehand, if I see if I can show this with my controllers, so execution while doing keyboard and pad with the same hands isn't great. But yeah, for things like that, wouldn't have looked correct because it was erroneously clamping the character to the top of the screen. So when you hit them with that uppercut, they would just hover in the air, all funny, and it just wasn't nice at all. So that's been fixed now. It allows juggles to work nicer as well. A couple more things there. So a lot of changes to show here. So as mentioned there earlier, that little light box at the bottom there, so that's a projectile invincible box. So I've basically went through and allowed all the hit boxes and hurt boxes and all that to carry their damage type, whether it's a hit or a throw or a projectile. And then there are specific invincibility types now that are actually respected, although the only ones that are really in use right now are the projectile invincible ones. So the bottom of a character's hurt box is projectile invincible only jump, which again is something that's done in most of the modern Street Fighters and such, and it seems like a good enough idea. It just makes it a bit easier for your character to clear fireballs when it looks like they should. And on the Tatsu, you can see it's like that now. So beforehand, I had just made the Tatsu have a really high hurt box. This is probably going to be difficult to show without a script. I would probably need to script this. Actually, yeah, I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to try. I'll just waste time trying to do that with my hands. But basically, that allows you to tatsu through a fireball. So the fireball will come across and clip through that portion of the body, and they'll be unharmed. But it still allows a character to duck under the tatsu and just punch him with like a crouch fierce or any kind of upwards moving move like that. So basically the way it should be. So those parts of the body are meant to be easily punched if you duck under the hit, but they're supposed to go over projectiles, and that's what it does. So I'll maybe have another video of some scripted tests out sometime soon. I haven't been doing enough new ones really. Should have a lot more of those and get a more complete test suite going at some point. But I'll hopefully get showing that there. Other things that we got here, the juggles as well have been updated quite a bit. So obviously you've seen the super juggles, or the cancel and things like that. But there's some slightly nicer things. So I went over this before, but yeah, basically the way the juggle system in this works then that I've done now is moves that launch assign a number of juggle points whenever they hit the first time, and if you're hit again while still in a launch state, those juggle points are subtracted, and when you don't have any more, the card becomes invincible and they combo ends and they fall to the ground. So the way I've done that made it a bit awkward to allow multiple hit moves to juggle correctly. So basically what I've done with that is I've given an optional parameter to multi-hitting moves. Well, you can apply them to single hitting moves as well, but it doesn't serve as much of a purpose unless I want something to just be really good in juggle combos. I don't really like juggle combos that much. I just like them to have like 1 or 2 moves in them. So this works out nicely. So basically there's a full juggle property on multiple hit moves, and that just means that whenever that move connects, if you've got that property, it'll allow that move to override the current number of juggle points, and allow it to always finish its own juggle. So the good example here is Ken's light uppercut, which I have to do on keyboard now. So that one there gives it doesn't have full juggle, but it gives one juggle point. So if you anti-air someone with it or whatnot, you've got 1 juggle point. So if you anti-air someone with it near the corner, you could do another one and it would combo, but you wouldn't be able to do anything else because the second one isn't a full juggle, and it just takes away is 1 juggle point, and that's you done. But if you were to do that, give them the 1 juggle point and then hit them with the hard version. The hard version doesn't leave them with any juggle points at the end, so it can't be followed up, but it has the full juggle property. So whenever it first connects, it'll go, bam, I'm full juggle, I'll override this. You've now got 2 more juggle points to allow the other 2 hits to connect. And I'll maybe try and show that at the end. If there's anything else I can go over, pick Ken on the pad so I can do that more easily. That might be most of the things. So let's see. I'm just looking at my list to go through here. We've shown off both characters' new supers, the sparks, the super cancels. We've shown the multi hits working. The throw invincibility. Meter gain actually has been tweaked in general across the board. I think in my previous videos you wouldn't have seen sensible amounts of meter gain from things like teching throws and blocking moves and things like that. So that stuff's all been done. It's maybe not the best, the values probably aren't great in terms of an actual sensible balance, but the gain is there and it's ready to be tweaked whatever way needs to be. But it's all there. You gain stuff in all the situations you should gain some and such forth, and obviously it's been multiplied massively for the demo. We've got the respective types and camera tweaks. Oh, that's the other thing, yes, is I think I touched on this briefly when I was talking about the super, but I now have the code in to do separate recoil types for grounded and air hits. So I think the easiest way to show this is probably tattoos actually. So the air tattoo actually in particular. I probably need to show it with Ken's. More keyboarding then. So yeah, so Ken's air tatsu normally doesn't knock down, as you can see, so it leaves him grounded, and you can do this in keyboard. Now keyboard. But yeah, well, you don't need to get a nice combo after it to show, but yeah, you can see that leaves him grounded. Now, if I can somehow manage to do this, in fact, I'm not even going to do that. I think I'll maybe show that in a scripted demo as well, because there's certain things they're very awkward to show when you're controlling both characters. But basically, the air tatsu then, if it connects with the opponent in the air, it'll send them into a launch state. But on the ground, they stay standing. And the same, well, the reverse kind of applies to some other moves. Actually, no, it is the same. So, like for things like fireballs, if you land in a fireball mid-air, it'll just knock you down rather than doing an air reset. Things like that. So, I'll hopefully show those in a script as well. Oh, and post KO states as well. So we'll do a wee bit of messing around here to see if we can show the juggles. If I can. Actually no, it's not even worth it. I will bash, do a few times, get him near there, and we'll show some of the new post KO logic. Some of it is just very simple in terms of you can now be hit after the KO, so multi-hit moves will always continue to finish and things like that. And there's a chip death animation if you finish. There you go. So if you get finished with a light, you'll just crumple down. Usual stuff. Nothing major. Just another nice little touch. And I think that's all the stuff that's new that I can really show off manually. I may try and do a wee scripted video to show off some of the other stuff. So things I want to show there as well. Projectile clashes as well and durability for multi hits. So that's all sorted out. So things like that are resolved immediately. So if your 5-hit super fireball clashes with a normal fireball, it will then and there go which fireball has the least durability, destroy it, and take however much durability it had away from the other one, so that they don't float mid-air pegging off each other or anything. It just immediately resolves that. There's a winner and a loser, or they'll both be destroyed, and then whichever one wins will just continue on with whatever remaining durability should have had that. And there were some animation oddities with that beforehand. There was some oversight in how I was calling the stuff, where I'd missed a flag somewhere, so that when it was looping through this and comparing the projectiles, whenever they tied, it would end up comparing them both and triggering the effect twice. Just a silly oversight, so that's been fixed. And I almost forgot about one of the biggest things I actually worked on, but it's not easy to show, so it'll need to go in a scripted video as well, is the reversal input buffer. So you can now, buffer special moves during like hit stun or as you're about to wake up. And I think at the minute I've set it at 3 frames, which I think is fairly common nowadays. But you don't want it to be too excessive. You don't want it to be mad easy. But yeah, so basically what I've set it up to do then is that while you're in those states, we accept special move inputs, and we can store one, and then that buffer is cleared every 3 frames. So you'll only get the result if you've input a move within 3 frames of waking up or recovering, and returning to a neutral state where you can do moves again. And if you're mashing like mad and doing a lot of different things, whatever the most recent thing is takes precedence. So it just refreshes the buffer and its age each time, and works out all right. There were some shenanigans with testing that as well. There's a few issues in my input scripting and the step through debug mode and all that I fixed as well. But they're not really easy things I can show here. But I think that's about it. So in the script, so we're going to show the reversal buffer, and just the fact that reversals work in general and have an on-screen message and such forth. We show some projectile clashes, show some juggle states, but that's difficult for me to do controlling 2 characters. So we'll show a few things like juggling life shoryukens into supers into hard ones and such forth. What else? Yeah, we'll show the Tatsu's invincibility. I think I have a few tests in showing that already anyway. So we'll show it going over a projectile and then easily being hit by an uppercut. I think that's most of the things. Well, if there's anything else, I'll sort it out and get it in later. So that'll do for this video before I ramble on too long, not showing anything. And hopefully pretty soon I'll have another one up just showing a few of the other features through the script. Alright, we out.